Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to American Running Garage. For today's project, what we're going to be taking care of is a Yamaha XJ 650, the newest bike I picked up. When I went and picked it up from the guy, he said that the front brakes didn't work. So he took the front caliper off, spun it around, bolted it down. So that way it wouldn't engage, I guess. I'm not sure, but we're going to get into this project today and see if we can find out why these brakes aren't working. So for the front brakes on a motorcycle, especially if they're the newer type with the front brake master cylinder, it's a very simple system. You know, you got a little fluid reservoir, you hit your brake lever, it pushes fluid down into the brake fluid down into the caliper, then the caliper piston comes on out, pushes the brake pads together, and it squeezes the rotor. It works almost the exact same way as when you put your foot down on the brake pedal in a car. So real simple system. We'll get into it. Maybe there's bad fluid, maybe there's a leak somewhere, or maybe the cylinder piston is seized up. Now, if it is seized up, I'll probably have another video of rebuilding it because I don't have the parts to rebuild it today. But let's do what we could get into. Let's see what we find out, and sit back, relax, and let's get to it. All right, so those of you guys who are like new into motorcycling or maybe new into just doing stuff yourself on your bike, this is the master cylinder right here for the front brake. Okay, on newer bikes, if you have disc brakes in the back, you'll have one of these and it'll be down on the side. This motorcycle has drum brakes in the back, I believe. So this is one we're looking for. You have a sight glass right here, and that looks pretty gross. Yuck. But it looks like it might be kind of shattered. Okay, so then you have your hydraulic brake line here, your banjo fitting. See if we have any resistance. No resistance. So basically what happens is when you squeeze your brake lever, fluid pushes all the way down and then comes over to your brake caliper, which is here. Fluid comes into this chamber, and let's see, this piston pushes out, squeezing your brake pads together, and then they will clip right down, and that's what slows you down. All right, so right now there's nothing happening when I pull the brake lever. The piston didn't move, and here, let's see if I can get an angle. I'm going to squeeze the lever again. Yep, nothing happened, no worky. So let's see if we can figure out why it doesn't. All right, guys, so before we really get into this, brake fluid itself is really nasty. It's not good for your motorcycle at all, except for the brakes, right? But once we open up the master cylinder, you don't want any of this brake fluid to spill out on your chrome or your gas tank, because it will destroy it. It's not good. Now this old bike, I really don't care that much because it's not going to look like this when I'm done with it, but I don't want to create any extra work for myself in the future, and it's just good practice. So if you're doing this for the first time yourself, you can take any type of rag and cover it around. I would get something big enough, you know, like an old t-shirt that you don't care about, and you can wrap it all the way around the cylinder. Some people cover their tanks. Do whatever you need to do to protect your bike, because this stuff is funky. So right here, to take this off, there's a screw here and a screw here. Before I take that off, I'm going to cover the area and just make it a little bit safer and cleaner so I don't do damage to the bike. All right, guys, so what I did was I took a rag, cut a little slit in the middle of it, so it makes like, you know, just something simple so I can slide it over, give it a little bit of protection, and then I threw another rag over the tank. And I know you're like, Jay, that's a great idea because that gas tank looks awesome and you don't want to ruin it. I don't. But here we go. And then if you have any type of, you know, magnetic little bowls to put the hardware in so you don't accidentally drop it, that'll work out for you in the future too. Let's see what we got though, guys. So you want to be kind of careful sometimes. Some people really screw these in nice and tight, and you don't want to strip these little screws because they are, I don't know if you can see that, but they're real tiny, right in a little magnetic tray. So if you drop it, you're going to be looking for it for a while, especially if your shop floor is a mess. Like I have a black mat down on my shop floor. So if it falls down there sometime, it's hard to find. All right, big reveal, guys. Let's see what we're working with here. Oh. All right, that's gross. All right, so this piece right here is a diaphragm, and on the outside it looks not too bad. See how it's kind of shiny? But in here, I don't know if you can kind of see that. I don't want to tear it up too much. Yeah, there you go. All that funkiness. I'll have to clean that out. But so we want to set our diaphragm off to the side. That's our lid. Now, okay, just kind of as suspected, let me show you what we're working with here. All right, it is pretty much empty. There's some grossness and some sediments down in there, but that's probably why the brakes don't work. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put some fluid in it, get it up to the right levels, and bleed the brakes. Okay guys, so when you go to pour brake fluid in here, what you wanna do is you wanna poke just a little itty bitty hole, okay? Don't take off the whole wrapper, because then all it's gonna do is it's gonna make an absolute mess. And then you're gonna be just frustrated. And nobody wants to work on anything while they're frustrated, right? So let's get that right there. So here's my open reservoir. There's my little hole. I'm just gonna pour it right on in there, okay? Give the bottle a little squeeze. Now, what you don't wanna do, and I'm bring this on over so you guys can see. Okay, see how the fluid is clear? Like you can't even really tell that I poured fluid in there. If you have old fluid, it's gonna look like honey or brown, or it's not gonna look clear, it's gonna look funky. So if you can look through your sight glass and you're like, oh man, my brake fluid looks funky, it probably is. And it's probably time to change it. So this is how you're gonna do that if you don't have any type of machine to suction it out, okay? All you're gonna do is all right, so make sure that you got your gloves on. It said brake fluid, it's not really good for you. It's pretty bad for everything, but you're just gonna take a rag. This is just an old pair of sweatpants that I chopped up, and I'm just gonna dip it in there. Then I'm gonna just slowly work it down. And this is going to get everything out of the reservoir. Now, I don't think that there's anything in the lines, but if there was, I would pull everything out of the reservoir, put new fluid in the reservoir, and then I would start pushing it out the way I'm getting ready to show you. But I'd push all the brown fluid out, all the old brake fluid, until it's clear, okay? I don't even think that there's going to be anything in the line, so I'm going to kind of demonstrate the best way that I can so that way you have an idea. Let's see, did that get it all out of there? So it sure did. So just by soaking that, put it into the reservoir is now completely empty. Now the next one, yeah, having a suction machine to suck all the bad fluid out, is it faster? Sure, but you don't really need to waste the money on it. All right guys, so bleeding the brakes really, it doesn't need a whole lot of stuff, or actually changing out the brake fluid altogether. So I'm gonna show you how to change out the brake fluid since we're here. There's no brake fluid in it. You can go get some brake fluid .4. If your bike, if the owner's manual says .3, .4 is better. You could use .4. If you could even find .3 anywhere, that's pretty awesome. But .4 is gonna work great. And brake fluid's pretty cheap, so it's not like it's gonna make or break the bank once you get into the whole spectrum of motorcycle stuff. You want a container. This is my funky juice container, so this is where all my bad fluids go into. You want a piece of old fuel line or any type of hose, so that way you can put it on the nipple, run it in there, and then like for this bike, I believe it's gonna be an 8mm. Alrighty guys, so if you look right here, see if I can turn it, you see this little nipple. Okay, that's what you want to hook your line to, and then you're going to run that into your funky juice catch container, and then you're going to just turn this with an 8mm wrench, righty tighty lefty loosey. You just want to break it a little bit to get the fluid to come out of there. So this is sometimes easier with two people. We're just going to do it by ourselves today. But you're gonna break that open, and you're going to put fluid back up in your reservoir, the one that we just emptied. I'm going to fill it back up, crack this open, and then I'm going to pull the brake lever. But when I'm pulling the brake lever, if everything works how it should push the old fluid out of here. If there's anything funky in this brake line, it should push everything out. And then once I have everything back together and I know that fluid's going through there, we're gonna see if we can get this piston to slide out and retract on its own. And if we do, then I know that my caliper is good. If it doesn't, then I'm probably gonna have to rebuild the caliper, and then that will be a show for a different day. Okay, so now I got my brake line. It's hooked to that little nipple we were talking about, and it's going down into my Funky Juice catch bottle. So I just did switch the bottle to the other side because normally that little nipple's pointing off to this side. Let's see if I can. Okay. Right, bro. That's not good. All right, guys, so I had to take the caliper off and put it the right way, clean up the threads. It was really funky. So it would sit like this on your motorcycle, not spun all the way around. But I got it broken off. Now I can do everything that the camera should be able to see it a little bit easier and not fighting myself trying to do everything in reverse. So we'll get this hooked back up. The Funky Fluid Catcher 1000. Okay, 8mm. Gonna crack it open. Just a little bit. Like I said, I don't want the threads to break everything loose. And now I'm gonna go up and I'm going to pull the lever and see if I can get any fluid to come out. All right, it sucked the fluid down. Pour a little bit more fluid in there. Now there's a little bit of pressure on it and bounce back. Just crack this just a little bit. Okay. So you probably heard that I did it one too many times and air got back down in here, so I'm just gonna put in some more brake fluid. Let's see if we can get this caliper to move. That'd be really great. If not, I just wasted your time and my time, I think. And when you're putting the screws back on, just like anything else, if you're new to doing maintenance, don't, tighten one side down all the way. Get them both a little snug and then work them back and forth. So that way everything goes on nice, even Steven, you know what I'm saying? See if I get all the air out of there. See if this is going to work. If it does, this piston will move out like it's wanting to. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me. Don't fall off there. Okay, so If you guys remember, this piston right here was completely flat. So as I'm manipulating the brake, that means that all the fluid I just put in there is in here. So this is probably about as far as this goes. And I'll probably end up rebuilding this anyways in the future, just because it doesn't look great. But for right now, I know that we got brakes and this works. So now let's see if I can collapse this in. And I'm also looking, I'm compressing this piston back in, any leaks. I am getting the piston to compress back in. All right, so if you see, the piston is flat now, it's back in. So I'm going to pull the brakes. Just exercising it back out. I don't know if you can really see that. And that's full extension. I'm going to compress it back in. And then we'll have part 2 of this video another day. All right, guys, thanks for sticking with me. Probably not the most exciting video in the world, but hey, we know now that my brakes work. So it was just bone dry on fluid. All right, guys, so we got the brake piston to come out of the caliper, so that was a win for American Running Garage. It's still moving a little slow, I think, because there was no fluid in there. It maybe got some corrosion or going on. I might have to rebuild the piston. I'm not too sure yet, but we will see. So John and Jenna both put up there that they like the name Bone Dry since it didn't have any oil in it, didn't have any brake fluid in it. So I think Bone Dry is going to be the name of the bike. Maybe I'll just call it Bones. We'll see. We'll see what other adventures this leads. I also want to say thanks for all the thousands of views to everybody who's viewed my channel so far. We're, trying to make something happen. It's just a dude in a little shop that likes to work on motorcycles and Jeeps. So I really appreciate it. Keep the likes coming, keep the views coming, and if you can, hit subscribe and share with a friend. Until next time, guys, take it easy and ride safe.